Hey guys, it's BlockchainBrad, and today I'm honoured to speak with Steve Wei. He is the CEO of TopNetwork. He's here to provide all of us with an update for all things that are happening with the TopNetwork now and recently. Steve, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody. I'm Steve, CEO of TopNetwork, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you in this channel.
It really is an honour to have you on. I know you've been very busy lately. There's been some significant announcements, and to be honest, TopNetwork is the buzzword right now, just with reputation and the movements and you're making on the blockchain. So Steve, give us an update. Firstly, give us a recap of what TopNetwork are all about.
TopNetwork is basically doing two things. So the company side is doing two things simultaneously. We are doing the decentralized communication network. That's my original business. I have been in the communication industry for very, very long. And secondly, we are also doing a public blockchain platform. It's a general purpose public blockchain, and it has really high performance and a very good token economic model. Because our vision is we want the blockchain platform can support real world business, not only financial transactions. And the current platform have several issues and big issues. TPS is not good enough, gas fee is too high, and it cannot process complicated data, business data. So we started from the communication business, and we want to move the communication business to the blockchain, provide a decentralized communication service. And we also want to provide a digital ledger, distributed ledger, that can enable business on blockchain. So that's what we are doing. Top is doing two things: decentralized communication and a high performance, general purpose blockchain platform.
Got it. Okay, so just to recap very quickly, you're doing two things, as you said, the decentralized communication and also your own comprehensive and very robust blockchain platform, public by design. But what's fascinating is you come from a very real world of business. You are backed with some serious players when it comes to advisors, and they are directly, having spoken to you before, they are directly aligned with you and support you. We're talking about billionaires on the blockchain in this respect, CEOs of Zoom. We're talking really big deal here. So you're literally transferring pre-existing companies onto the blockchain, seamlessly done. Users won't know. And we're talking about the kinds of numbers of tens of millions, even 50 million, in fact, as you recently tweeted, I think 60 million. So let's talk about that just for a second. The reality of being able to represent a new revolutionary startup where people won't even know that they're using the blockchain.
Yes, you just mentioned Zoom, right? And let me talk a little bit about Zoom. The CEO Eric is my good friend, and he is also the advisor of TopNetwork. And they happened to yesterday 5S1. They were going public in Nasdaq, I think, and the business is very good. And of course, Zoom is for enterprise conference, and for us, we are doing the platform side and not doing the application side. And we want the platform provide the service to app developers, to business, enterprise, and they can connect to the platform. For example, in the future, even like a company like Zoom, they can access the TopNetwork and access the communication capacity in the network, because the network has a huge, will have a huge capacity. And the blockchain, the blockchain technology can enable that because, everybody can contribute a node to the blockchain platform. In the traditional model, you deploy all the servers, purchase the bandwidth, and the cost is so high. And in the decentralized model, the beautiful thing, it's an open platform. and everybody can contribute the resource to the platform. You have 2 servers, you have 1 gigabyte bandwidth, you can all contribute to that, and you will receive reward. You're not going to do the free work. Yeah. Based on your contribution, you receive reward. And so, if we look at the top network, it's actually the enterprise business.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you raise a really important point there, because enterprise-centric, you're not here to simply be an open source system. You are revenue generating. You're going to build out products and services on top. Now let's talk about the hot one right now, and that's BitVPN. You've recently tweeted out about this, I saw. Talk us through that. I was talking to you before about the potential for users of BitVPN not to even possibly know that it's blockchain based, because the price structure doesn't really change. The blockchain design and architecture is essentially inconspicuous to the lay person. How powerful can that be, given that we just don't see this kind of magnitude of utility represented by a utility token at this scale right now in 2019, where people can literally use a BitVPN now and in the future and not even know that there's an infrastructure underneath that's blockchain based?
BitVPN is the first DApp we built on TopNetwork. So this app is built by us. And we use it as an example how people can build a decentralized application on TopNetwork. And we want to show how token economics works and what's the beautiful side of a decentralized communication. And the reason we choose VPN, because VPN is the most simplest communication application. It's very simple. You start a VPN, stop a VPN, that's it, right? And so that's the reason we started building BitVPN before we launched the mainnet. And as you said, the BitVPN, we want to show the token economics. What is the real utility token, or how people use the utility token on an app? So, for example, the VPN is a DApp, and there is a node that provide the VPN service, right? And VPN needed to pay top tokens for the service to the node. Let's say one user start a VPN session, and this user use 1 gigabyte data, let's say, and the price is, let's say, 2 tokens per gigabyte data. So this session costs 2 tokens, and that token should be paid to the node that provides the VPN service. So you can see, the top token is a perfect utility token. It's for the communication service, right? It's not like security token generated like interest, dividend. It's not it's not a stake. So it's a pure utility from the user to the node, or from the app to the node.
Got it. So in that respect, you're also making sure there's more that goes to the pocket of the creator. The more goes to the person who is the one who developed the product itself. Now, in the case of BitVPN, you're also cutting out a lot of the complexities, a lot of the challenges, and a lot of the middlemen requirements. And obviously that's advantageous for both you and the user themselves. Now, how does this go though, Steve, with regard to the complexities of compliance? So for example, in Korea right now, there's considerations with regard to supporting blockchain, but perhaps not so much crypto as a token. In China, the same thing. We see pro-blockchain, but some aversions and more of a risk assessment being done on crypto by design because of the problems we've seen in the past, where not everything's been a true utility. So you've always stood by being one of the world's first true utilities to come on the blockchain and really show what this can do. Do you still stand by that, Steve, that you in 2019 are really leading the way in what really can be done in a utility scenario? And will these countries pay attention?
Compliance is very complex. I'm not an expert in this area, and especially each different country has a different policy, regulation requirement. China has its requirement, and Korea is doing something. U.S. is like it's open, but they are very strict to security and utility.
Right.
They only care about this. And some countries like China, they don't like tokens. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very different. And for us, the TopNetwork, we are, first of all, we are a US company, or we are US project. So first of all, we need to comply to the US regulation, right? That's the most important thing. Yeah. And secondly, we want to show, the system or the project, the token economy can really prove its utility. There's no security, there's no and like a stock or like a stake, those kind of things. So we don't have this.
Right. So you're not building in a securitized element for staking, for dividends, or for implied sort of pro-Howey outcomes where it's obvious that there's expectations that that token will inherently grow in value just because it exists. You're actually really about proof of work in the sense of proving it works in an adoption scenario so people can actually use it.
Yes, you're right. So, it has to be purely proof of work. However, the definition of work is different. For example, blockchain, Bitcoin, you calculate the hash, right? That's a proof of work. In TopNetwork, the POW is a work means like provide a bandwidth service. Okay, we actually call the proof of bandwidth, POB. Yeah.
Right.
So node provide a service and receive a token reward from the user or from the app, and it's not like from somewhere from Bitcoin actually the token is from Coinbase, so it's from out of the blue. However, in our network, a user has to pay token to the node. The node doesn't generate the tokens.
Right.
So you can see, it's a purely utility from this transaction. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Now let's talk about the token economic model itself. Now, right now, Steve, is that we see a lot of different scenarios with what we could argue as a secure utility, where many of these utilities actually indirectly by functionality grow in value because the model itself, and as the token finds its price discovery in an utility scenario, whether they be authentic or not, it's still happening, is that we still see prices change. Speculation, we talked about this before, can be regarded as a problem. So how do you address this, and how do you make sure that in the future this really is representative of the people using it for use, so that eventually we see more evidence of a more stable scenario, something that eventuates through a price discovery process where there's trust in the voucher of value that is TopNetwork's coin?
Token price, it's very volatile. It can go up very quickly. It also can go down much more quickly.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that.
And it is cause some issues, but we develop a model we call the free market model, and because this model provides like a marketplace, so there is the asking price and the bidding price. It's in real time, and the bidding side is the app developer or user, or another side is the node. So the node is asking, there is an asking price, and if the token price change, they will adjust the asking price, and the app will also adjust the bidding price. Yeah. And in the end, they will reach an agreement. Okay, this is a reasonable price. So the key, the service price is not fixed. If service price is fixed, it's a huge issue. Yeah. And in real world, people use fiat currency, typically US dollar, right? Okay, let's say, if we rent a server from a data center, they say, hey, this server costs $50 per month. So that's the cost in fiat. And if we use the utility token, the price changes because the token price changes, right? However, the cost side, it's still pegged to the fiat currency. Yeah. So people need to find a way to make sure whether the people paying is pegged to fiat, or whether the people receiving is also pegged to fiat. In this sense, you really need a stable coin.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you make the point also that fulcrum of value shifts along the continuum according to the price pegging, so that it's not finite in that sense, and that it has that flexibility, much like we see the fiat system, which would no doubt be really important for trust to be able to, before this to actually work, because businesses wouldn't touch it, I would assume, if they haven't got that trust in that pegging of the fiat, so they can essentially engage in the business world and know that there is a reflection in the business of the day, the price points of fiat as well. So will businesses find this easy with the system you have to be able to interact? Because I ask that in the sense that most businesses won't want another layer of complexity, because you are a full stack system. There's no question of that. You've got really strong blockchain-based consensus and mechanisms, all of the text there, and it's all open source, it's on the GitHub. But will it be easy for them to jump in, do business, and not find that they have to mess around with exchanges and go and cash in and cash out, change currencies? Because we want to make sure this is viable and seamless and easy.
From my point of view, token economy is a very nuisance. So we need to, optimize in the practice. And the advantage we own, because we have real businesses, so we have the chance to optimize to figure out a way. For most of the project, you don't have volume, don't have transaction, you cannot optimize it. You don't have the chance to optimize. And there are a lot of token economic models, and it's based purely, theoretically, I would say. And it's not a proven in token economy, right? And our white paper outlines some token economy, but I would say we still need real business to prove it. So
and you're obviously excited. You're excited.
There is no wrong or right now, because nobody prove it's right or nobody prove it's wrong. And our idea, free marketplace, I cannot say it's definitely works. However, we have the chance to optimize it. It will work.
Right. And Steve, one of the things that I've realized, knowing you now for some time, is that it's not about it's not about developing everything from scratch by complete design. Now, obviously you did that with the blockchain. Right from the outset, you built a whole full stack system. But one thing I learned about the TopNetwork is that the actual model itself of business has just been redesigned. So the blockchain acts as new fuel, almost like a new cog in the machine, because you already had pre-existing businesses that weren't blockchain-centric or blockchain-based, but they are actually the real guts or the real true engine itself. And you've added in a new cog, a new mechanism called blockchain to make this really work, to decentralize it. The full stack was built because of it. And now you're able to do business in simply a better, more efficient way. But more importantly is that the business existed, the models and ideas for what can be done existed before the blockchain was included. So this is just another way to make this even better for both the company and for the user. But I wanted to talk to you about this in the context of exchanges as well. Because Steve, it's one thing to have a really good new decentralized framework, but it's another thing to have that aligned with a trusted exchange. And I can't stress that enough, because there's just very few I see that I would even come close to trusting. So Huobi Prime came on, it's announced, it got everyone talking, the TopNetwork. So can you talk us through what it means to align with Huobi Prime?
So Huobi Prime, I would say it's a very innovative platform for really good project. It has to be a very good project, because they provide a platform connecting second market users and the sellers. The seller would be investors or other contributors, not the project. So it's not like, for the project to raising money from Prime. It's not. It's a pure exchange, for the second market users and the community members of the project. So in this sense, it's not an IEO.
Well, that's a very important point, because by definition, the exchange is supposed to be that essential conduit, that hub that connects the two main parties that want to do a real exchange. But the reality is we've seen something very different with the emergence of IEOs, with all kinds of strategies. We see exchanges trying to get certain companies to list because it's getting hype. So we see hype trains, we see all kinds of strategies employed to get the attention of the people, and speculators are literally rife everywhere trying to find the new next big influx in growth, try and see, for want of a better term, the new 10x or the new 5x. Now you're saying that Huobi has a totally different strategy. Now, can we discuss a little bit, I'm not sure how much we can disclose with regard to your own company, but many exchanges charge a lot of money, millions of dollars. Now, what sets Huobi apart in this respect from your experience being the CEO, and given that you are the first to go on Huobi Prime?
First of all, I can talk a little bit, why Huobi Pro choose TopNetwork.
Okay.
That's the most important part. For people, they want to choose a TopNetwork project, and they have this idea about 1 month ago, and actually they approached us. Brad, we are not actively approaching exchanges. We are focusing on build product, and the exchanges approach us. We are a very good project, and I think a lot of people know us. A lot of exchanges know us very well. But we were just we are just not actively approaching them.
Right.
And they were talking about the Prime idea to us, and they say, okay, it's a very, very strictly compliant to regulations. It's not an IEO. That makes me really interesting. Because regulation is always number one from my heart. Very important. And this is first lesson. Secondly, they want the project the project will be successful, and they need to have the very good technology. The project should have very good technology, excellent team, and a reasonable token economic. Most of the token economic, it really doesn't make sense, right?
Absolutely. Most, let's say 98% are bullshit. And that's why it's interesting, because obviously the process of Huobi Prime was very rigorous to make sure that their utility was real.
Yes. They want its utility And they also want to make sure the token economy itself works. It's a real token economy. And the last one, another very important thing, they want the valuation is a reasonable valuation because you see, they are connecting the seller to the second market buyer. The lower the valuation, the high return for the second market users, right?
Right, exactly.
So they don't want a project with a very high valuation. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, because it actually helps those listening right now as well, Steve, because it's all about trying to give access to the people. It should be about the crypto community, not about capitalizing in a hierarchy of access from the beginning when we see seed investors jumping in board. But the retail investors, they can't do that. So really, Huobi supporting the people, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And, TopNetwork, we pegged when we started raising the money in the private sale, we pegged the token price to ETH. So as the ETH price goes down, the valuation goes down.
Right. Okay.
As you see from the Huobi Prime announcement, the valuation is earning about $50 million. It's a very low valuation. You see, for a project like us, it's a really low valuation. And means, the second market users have a very good chance to have a good return, right?
Right. And that's a really important thing, because we just don't see enough. Now, how easy are you going to make it, though, as well, with the way that Huobi Prime works, so that people can access this? Because I think quite simply right now, we see an announcement with Binance with a lottery-based system announced today, actually, with regard to how they're essentially streaming users to utilize their token, then to sort of promote the projects that they select. But clearly, Huobi also wants to promote the projects they choose and make it accessible. But how are they going to make it so that it's fair? So that people can participate in this system, so that you're not suddenly having to jump in for 15 seconds, and participate in what is a very hyped process.
I would say, it would be very difficult to buy the tokens because the valuation is very low, and a lot of people want to buy the tokens.
Right.
It is very difficult. But Huobi is doing something, make sure people can buy it, because they low. I think that one account can get only $1,000. Yeah, so let's say TopNetwork has, I think, about maybe 3,500 people will have the chance to win. To get the chance to buy the tokens. Yeah.
Right.
But you know what? Because the supply is very limited, and there are so many people want to buy. I would say it would be very difficult to get the tokens.
Yes. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Now, you say, and obviously Huobi would agree with you, I would imagine, that it's not an IEO. It's some sort of token event to sort of kickstart the exchange opportunities that relate to TopNetwork, so people can start to engage in that ecosystem of exchanges. Now, that's clear. But with regard to the feedback from, for example, the people who knock on your door as a CEO, I'm talking about VCs, I'm talking about OTC markets, I'm talking about influencers. Surely everyone's been bombarding you saying, give me tokens. How can I get them? How can I buy them? Has that happened since all this hype has started to build for TopNetwork?
Yes, actually, a lot of people approach me or my CFO or my other team members, but frankly, I say, we don't have the tokens. And first of all, we have a very, very strict lock-up design. So most of the tokens are locked. Right. And it's transparently. And the community members, I mean, the early investors or some other contributors, they are willing to release 7.5% and list those tokens on Huobi Prime. So that's all the tokens on the market now. Even me, I personally don't have the tokens.
Right, me either. A lot of people assume because we've known each other for a long time that somehow I own tokens of Top. I do not, and this is an entirely free interview. But I think it's important that people also know the stance that you take, because quite frankly, Steve, you're not about bullshit. You really have always stood very true to your company, and you want this to be something of the long term, and that requires embedding trust in the people. So can you categorically state now that you really are designed for the long term, and you've built this whole system to unfold in the fairest way possible, so there's no pump and dumps and that sort of thing that we see with a lot of these other problematic projects?
Yes, it's very important. Everything is designed for long term in our project. And for example, start from the founding team and investors and employee and the technology roadmap. Everything is designed for long term. I'm from the traditional world. I mean the internet world. Now it's called the traditional world.
Right.
The traditional world, it's about 7 years. Average is 7 years from start the company and go to IPO and exit, right?
Right.
It takes 7 years. And blockchain, I would say it's not a very different world. It's still, about the business, right? It's about develop a good product, market the product, get the users, and generate revenue. And it has to take the same path, you see? Yeah. So need several years. The founders, I'm the CEO, the employee, they need to work for long term. Yeah. And the investor, they should expect, they need several years to get the returns. Not like after 1 month, 2 months, there's no such kind of good sense in the world, right? There is no money.
Well, that's normally true, Steve. But I mean, the reality is that utility tokens have thwarted that completely. Because we're not talking about a security here. We're not talking about an IPO. Because IPOs tend to have more of that long-term investment value, not a utility token. So let's talk about that for a moment. Now, the likelihood of the expedition, or the movement forward of the voucher of value that you're going to have, we're not going to see that happen and play out in years to come. I don't argue. I would comfortably say that it's going to be very different to that. But in the future, are you also considering something like an IPO? Where people can have a chunk of TopNetwork in the future, where they can have that securitized ownership and control and dividends later, because that will be more true of what your experience has been, I would assume, where you have something that has really long-term potential to grow in the standard way we've seen IPOs. But right now, surely you would agree that the utility token changes everything in terms of what it can actually do and how it's going to play out. No one really knows.
Utility has its limitations. I would say, it has a lot of limitations, and you cannot do utility token in a lot of area. And for example, if your company go to IPO, you definitely should issue utility tokens, right? You need to issue security tokens.
Right.
And for us, so we are basically building a decentralized protocol layer. For this layer, it is a utility token. And for this part, for us, we don't get any return from there. I mean, no revenue from there. And for us, we are fine to that. However, our team is also building some apps on the platform.
Right.
So the apps have the revenue, will have the revenue, and and it's like a very traditional company, internet company. It will have users, the user pay for the app, and we get the revenue. And this part is, I would say, is 100% similar to the traditional internet business. And that part can go to IPO. There's no issue. And we don't even need to issue security token. It's just a traditional model because you get the revenue, you generate the profit,
Got
right?
it. Just basic laws, you know, that relate to equity, essentially, as we've known, and you certainly know them. You've sold many companies, you've bought many companies, you've built many companies, so that makes a lot of sense. But in terms of the utility model, I mean, I think right now that's what you are first and foremost. Your utility model, token representation has the ability through the token modeling to actually develop. Now, we won't say investment because it's not designed that way, but it does have, through the metrics and the scarcity model, the ability to potentially change its form and value if you get this right as a true and authentic utility. Now, I wanted to ask you, in the context of enterprise, what's the pipeline like with all of the prospective businesses? You know many people, this is where your true value lies as well. You can open the door to many big players in the space. Now, from your experience, are they all willing to use this utility token? And have you got proof yet, given where you are at in your timeline and your roadmap, that they are going to grab a hold of this and comfortably use it?
You know, big companies, they have accounting system, right? And right now, one big issue, the accounting system doesn't support the tokens, the cryptos. I mean, you know, it's difficult for them to buy some tokens and hold the tokens and pay some fee with these tokens. It's difficult for them. You know, the ERP system, the accounting software doesn't support that. That's the issue. Yeah. And, but you know, there is some way to go around this. For example, you know, you can create some reseller or distributor, and they can act like an intermediary connecting the fiat and the crypto.
Right. Okay. So have you built those in for TopNetwork?
Yeah, you know, it's actually, you know, it's really normal in the telecom business side. I'm not sure how the other industry works, but in the telecom industry, you know, typically the telco guys, they don't want to direct deal with the customers. Right. You know what? For example, AT&T, most of the time, they don't deal with the customer directly. Okay. So there is a middleman, agent, I mean, most of the distributors, okay? So this middleman can accept the fiat and pay with the crypto. Okay?
Right. Now that's one thing I really wanted to know, because that's a game changer. That's a door opener for enterprise, because if you don't have that, I don't think that many enterprises would actually touch the system because it would be too complicated for them.
Yeah. I fall away this issue. The good news is, you know, in my industry, there are a lot of so many middlemen. And in the past, we have been working with those kind of middlemen for very, very long. So we know how the system works. Yeah. Right. In the future, I would say in the future, okay, the ERP system, the accounting software will support crypto, and the accounting law would be very clear. Now, even the accounting law is not very clear about the crypto. It's an asset, it's a secret, they don't know. Yeah.
Right. Even the tax system is trying to work it out as well, Steve.
And how to calculate the fair value is another issue, right? And the price is going up and down means like the profit, or means the equity is going up and down. That's an issue. Yeah. And but in the future, I would say it's takes some time. Gradually, people will figure out ways. So in my industry, I don't think there's a huge issue, because the system works, with the middleman, and the middleman is willing to connecting things.
Got it. Right, now here's the challenging question as a CEO, Steve. Give us an example. Give us what you can information with regard to the pipeline, the enterprise parties that are coming. There's a lot that I would assume you know about for this year with regard to the enterprise the partnerships that you're building. So can you tell us what, without FOMOing and without trying to create hype, which you don't like, what can we expect this year with regard to the timeline of obviously mainnet and then beyond in terms of some big plays and big moves you're making?
You know what, Brad, we have been in the communication business side for very long. I mean, my previous business, right?
Right.
And we have a lot of resources in the industry, and for us, getting customer is not an issue.
Right.
It's really not a difficult part. Yeah, and in the future, you will see we will have a lot of customers. Yeah. However, today,
how many do you think? Like, let's talk some numbers so people understand what the kind of numbers in your industry, what that can be done even this year as you start to really develop.
Now, this year, we are really focused moving our own apps, okay? Yeah. Because, we are still in the early stage, and people doesn't trust the new things, okay?
Right. So what kind of numbers are they for those who don't know? Because I do, and it's tens of millions. So give us a ballpark figure of the kind of numbers that you'll port over initially.
Sorry, what?
So what kind of numbers of people, given that you're starting off with the users that you already know in your own TopNetwork ecosystem and those apps that you're bringing on board, and you're onboarding for the BitVPN, for example, and anything that you build internally, what kind of numbers are they for users to start? So people understand, you're not talking about just a few here. We're talking about tens of millions of people just to start.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my previous business, we developed 3 apps, and those apps today have about 60 million users, and it's still growing very quickly. Mm-hmm. And our highest priority is moving those users to the new platform.
Right.
Yeah. So we because the 3 apps that we built in the past, they already have distributed network communication network architecture. Right. So it's very similar to the current the decentralized architecture of TopNetwork. It's very similar. So we can transparently move that 3 apps to the new platform, and the users is naturally move from the older model to the new platform. Yeah.
Right. And they don't even know that you've switched to the whole model underneath. That's really what I think is fascinating. So you mentioned 60 million, to start off and transition them, and you're working hard with your team to do that. Now, what about as we move back into the discussion of the pipeline and businesses? Let's move it forward now in the discussion, let's say 2020 to 2025. What can TopNetwork actually do, Steve? Can this be the world leader for this industry of communications, decentralized communication around the entire world? Can this really be done, do you think?
Communication is a very, very huge industry, and TopNetwork provide a lot of communication service. For example, let's say CDN is a big market. CDN, the market size is over like $20 billion, the CDN market. And Messenger is even bigger. Think about the WeChat, WhatsApp, Telegram. Those apps generate a lot of money, right? So much money, yeah. And VPN is also a very big market. It's $1 billion market. So every sub-segment in the communication service is a big market. Yeah. And I would say the overall market size is over $100 billion. Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, the addressable market of TopNetwork. Yeah.
Right.
And but we of course starting from one by one, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So we'll start from the VPN side, messenger side, and the storage side. Yeah. It's a very big market. So and there are so many enterprise customers or developers. I usually I would say developers, not customers, because customer like you sign deal and you get the revenue. That's a traditional model. So
Right.
I never talk about a customer. We typically talk app developers.
Got it.
Yeah, app developers need a communication service and they connect to TopNetwork. Yeah, that's all. So if you are going to build a messenger app, or if you own a streaming app, you need to lower your cost. You connect to TopNetwork.
Got it. Now, what's impressive also, Steve, again, not to FOMO, but I have been following your interactions with academia. You certainly have been engaging with some of the best universities on earth to really promote development and developers and to support them. So can you talk us through that as well, how important it is to try and foster the right kind of ecosystem for the top minds of the world who are potentially going to utilize blockchain technology?
You know what, Brad? Actually, I would say, there is, I would say, something is wrong in the industry, because when we talking about blockchain and when we talk about the developers, sometimes people say, okay, DApp, decentralized app, right?
Right.
And only those kind of developers are real blockchain developers. I would say it's wrong. So last time I was in a conference, I said we should remove the D from DApp. We should remove the D, because if we are talking about a true decentralized app, the market size is very small.
Okay.
Right? That's the key issue. So a lot of people think, okay, apps on blockchain have to be DApps. That's wrong. Totally wrong.
Okay.
Blockchain should provide a service to traditional applications as long as they can leverage the benefit of blockchain.
Right.
For example, let's say, game. Okay. So you see, EOS, Tron have a lot of games, right?
Right.
But most of them are gambling games, not a serious game. Okay. Those are real DApps. It's a DApp because everything run on blockchain. However, this market is very, very small. If we look at the traditional game market, it's huge, over $100 billion. You see?
Right.
So the industry, the blockchain industry should spend the time, spend the technology, spend the resource, convert that market or connect that market to blockchain.
Got it. Right.
Instead of developing some junk games, gambling game. You see? So that's the wrong thing happening in the blockchain industry. Yeah.
Right.
I would say, people like Vitalik, people like BM give people wrong impression. They are misleading developers. They are misleading the industry. That's totally wrong.
Right.
So I would say Vitalik should retire, and the BM should disappear. Those people don't understand the business, you see? Yeah. Well, so there are no DApps.
Got it. Now, we could talk for hours just on that topic, and it's very controversial, and I really appreciate that you have put forward that argument. Now, let's just recap that for a minute. What you're saying essentially is we need to potentially reframe our thinking to include all of the developers out there who are developing apps so that this can be mainstream. without including them in the business frame, then you simply won't capture not only the imagination and the potential, but you won't create a whole global business and economy that's truly going to demonstrate what this technology can do in that context. So that's a really interesting thing, and obviously it's going to be interesting to see how these apps and these developers integrate using the TopNetwork as well. But I want to pull it back one last time to Huobi Prime. Now let's talk dates. Let's talk about mainnet so we can clarify that. And can we also talk about the dates of Huobi Prime as well?
Sorry, you mentioned the mainnet.
Yes, so just to clarify for everyone who wants to know exactly about mainnet dates of when that, what the relevance of the mainnet with regard to the development of TopNetwork, when that's happened or happening. And then also I wanted to talk about Huobi Prime as well, when that's going to happen.
We are going to launch the mainnet on end of June. Yeah, and that's about 3 months away. And this timeline is the effect that we decide to go to Huobi Prime, because you know what? Exchange usually don't like connect with the native tokens because they don't have the infrastructure there, right?
Right.
And ERC-20 token, the interface is already there. So if we don't have the ERC-20 tokens, I would say the exchange wouldn't spend time on integrating the native integrate the native tokens to the exchange.
Right.
Or at least will cause some trouble. So that's the reason we want to list the token before the mainnet is launched. So
okay.
Yeah. So this is the fact that we make the decision. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. So right now, in a week's time, you are listing on Huobi Prime. Can you give us the exact date? And then you've explained that around about June, we can expect the mainnet to be released. And then from that point, there will be some sort of native token swap, in the future. So what's the date of this Huobi Prime release?
The Huobi Prime will list our project next Tuesday, March 26th, right?
Okay.
Yeah. In that stage, it's still the ERC-20 tokens. Yeah. And when we launch the mainnet, we will map the ERC-20 token to the native tokens. Yeah.
Right.
And we will have our own wallet. And of course, we will work with other wallets like Ledger. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So obviously there's a bit of a gap between now and then with regard to from ERC-20 to native token. Now, obviously, marketing strategies, they're relevant, they matter in any business context. Now, are you also employing some kind of marketing strategy beyond obviously engaging with me as a free supporter of your network? Are you actually doing a real structured marketing plan?
Sorry, I didn't get the last sentence.
So I was just asking you, are you employing some sort of structured marketing plan between now and obviously mainnet periods so that people become more informed? Because obviously there's only so much that different parties like myself are trying to let people know. So are you doing anything at all to spread the word, to really let people know between now and mainnet just what TopNetwork's about? Do you have a really good go-to mainnet market strategy, a go-to native token market strategy?
No, Brad, I don't worry about this part. This part would be very, very easy. You know what? Because, people hold the money, right? And they know they need to convert from ERC-20 to the native. They don't want to, hold a useless money, right? Useless token in the future.
Right.
So you don't need a lot of marketing stuff. You just send a notice, announce something, say, hey, you need to tell us your address, ERC-20 address, and we will map your tokens to the native token. That's it.
Okay.
You don't promote that.
Got it. So you're not about FOMO, you're not about promo, you're all about just trying to develop a real token for the real world. I've got that. I can hear that loud and clear. Now, with regard to the plan from now until mainnet, what can you tell us about some of the things we can expect with regard to evidence of adoption, evidence of use, and evidence of negotiations and contracts? Because that's where you tend to go with a lot of the conversations into the real world business discussion. So can we expect between now and the mainnet that you'll still be doing business?
Of course. So we just talking about a BitVPN, right? And in this period, the BitVPN is used to optimize the token economics okay. It's also used to optimize the product, the platform. Obviously, the testnet right now need to fix bug or performance issues. Yeah, and we need a real business to push it. You see, yeah,
right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just implement the software. That's it. You really don't know whether the software works or not work.
Right.
Yeah.
And Steve, you've always come across as someone who's not really the kind who will do announcements of announcements. We've seen Justin Sung do this a lot with Tron. You are sort of the antithesis of that. You like to just announce when they really do happen. So can we also expect that kind of pattern to continue, where you'll only announce when things are real?
You mentioned Tron.
So Tron, for example, we often see announcements of announcements, building time. So you're the opposite in many, from the discussions I've had with you and the stance you've taken. You are really about only announcing when there's something bang on real that's truly provable. So can we expect that tradition to continue, where you're not going to be someone who just announces for hype?
Yeah, Brad, we, as you said in Tron, Tron has so many announcements. So many. They are doing announcement every day, and Justin, he's like a personal announce a lot of things.
Yes, he's a very busy announcer.
That's their style. I would say, that's their DNA, right?
Right,
and
exactly.
For us, we are really under announcement. We don't have a lot of announcement, and I personally don't like those kind of things.
Right.
And you know what? We will still keep this tradition. However, I would say, there's one. There were some changes in the future after we finish the Huobi Prime, because you know what? Now there are already a lot of projects approach us. Okay, they want to sign partnership with us.
I'm sure they do.
I would anticipate those people will announce those kind of partnership.
I see. Right. Okay. So in the future, obviously, you're looking at partnering inside the ecosystem of crypto as well with real-world blockchain partnerships. But obviously, the traditional sector, the enterprise sector, the telecommunications sector, it's all happening for you. You've got a lot on your plate. Is the team building, because you already are making money? We've discussed this before with your other entities. So you don't ever seem to worry about money. Is the team building, and are they all just really productive right now, preparing for what's to come?
Oh, money is very important, right? So I'm not worried about the cash flow to support this team, but of course, the more money you have, the more things you can do. So like Tron, they can do so many things, you see.
They have, the coffers are full in that camp.
Actually, yesterday, one report asked me, how you guys compete with the EOS, Tron, and Ethereum, I asked why you put Tron in the list. He said, look, Tron has so much money, and they already have so many DApps, and they are in the tier 1. So Tron, US, Ethereum is the tier 1. And he said,
maybe for money.
How could you guys compete with the tier 1 players? You know what? I said, no, they are not a tier 1. Yeah, they haven't, got a lot of money in the past, and now they do have some DApps, but the most DApps, I would say 95% are junks.
Right. Basically, what you're saying here is most of the DApps are crap. So the DApps are crap, and what you're saying is that we need to see more of the real authentic apps, or if we want to use the current term of DApps, but that actually do real things and expand beyond the very small microcosm of crypto itself. So I think
let me give you an example.
Very good.
Brad, let me give you an example, and you can understand what I was saying. Okay, Facebook is adopting blockchain, right?
That's right.
And they're doing something serious, right? And the first step they are doing is they will provide a stable coin, and they will integrate the stable coin into WhatsApp.
Right.
So tell me, is WhatsApp a DApp?
No.
No, right? Okay, so that's how blockchain technology is used in real-world application.
Right.
You see, WhatsApp has so many users, and as soon as Facebook put the stablecoin in WhatsApp, it's a huge blockchain application.
Right. So essentially, it's really just about typical business, but expanding into greater reach and doing whatever they can with technology to get more reach. That's what you're really saying.
Yeah.
And you're tapping into that market as much as possible.
Yes. So we want to connect the traditional world to blockchain. I mean, leverage the blockchain technology. Yeah.
Right. And you're confident that you're doing that now, Steve? Already?
We are doing a similar thing. Very similar thing. You know, this business is sustainable, right? And it's already have a huge user base there, and you will get a revenue, or you will provide more value to the users, right?
Got it. Yep.
And as soon as as soon as we start doing this, and we will get a real traction, and in that time, I would say we will do much better than EOS and Tron. Those guys will still be doing the game stuff, gambling apps.
Got it. Right. I think you crystallized this for us. We might wrap up now because we could talk for hours, you and I. So what you're saying is you're breaking down the traditional barriers. You're breaking down this misnomer that it needs to be crypto bound. And in fact, you're even going so far as to take the D out of DApp and just simply say, maybe some of them are simply crap, not DApps, and it's time to get real about what apps can actually do in melding the world of crypto with the real world of business. You're leading a movement to try and do that with telecommunications in a decentralized way, distributing the technology, making it so that it's seamless between users and enterprise, and you're doing it with a full stack solution, with a comprehensive blockchain technology suite, very complex suite of technologies, in fact, and you're doing it also with really powerful advisors behind you, backing you all the way in the enterprise sector. So Steve, once again, it's been a real privilege speaking with you. You are about to hit Huobi Prime. It's going to be interesting, March 26th, and from that point, people will literally be able to exchange as it should be. You also mentioned that it's a pure exchange in your point of view, rather than be one of these systems that are designed to really hype, to get the excitement and see the IEOs that we've seen in the past. None of that's happening with Huobi Prime, you argue. So we're going to see what unfolds in the next week. And I wish you all the very best between now and mainnet as you build out what is to be one of the world's first true utility tokens in a utility framework on a decentralized telecommunications network.
Thank you, Brad.
You're very welcome, Steve, and thank you again for your time. I know you're busy, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, mate.